since one of them was retrenched.
Hi, I'm Siobhan.
I'm Vanessa.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Leah, and this is
Zula
Chit Chats. So today we're going to be talking about whether it's okay to earn more than your partner, and more specifically as a girl, earning more than your partner in a boy-girl relationship, because guys are stereotyped to be like the breadwinners in these kind of situations. So first of all, for the people you've dated, right, do they usually earn more or less than you?
Usually for me, they earn more than me because it's very easy to earn more than me lah. As someone, really, because it's someone that works in the media industry.
Same for me, because I usually date older guys, and only this one instance, one of them was retrenched. Only this one instance, he was unemployed for a few months, so his spending power was very low.
Usually the guys I date earn less because when we started dating, most of them are still schooling. I think for me, same as you, Chef. So I've dated people who are still studying while I already got a full-time job already. In that sense, are you guys okay with dating someone who earns less than you?
So typically, I prefer guys that earn more than me. I didn't choose it that way; it just happens to be the case. But I'm okay with dating a guy who earns less than me as long as he has a good attitude. So if he is a slacker and he earns a lot of money, that's actually less preferable than someone that is more driven and maybe he doesn't earn as much, but he is driven and he has goals.
Okay, so it depends on what kind of life you want. Like for example, if you're always buying branded stuff, then of course if you're dating a guy who's not so rich, then you just have to make sacrifices lah.
Mine kind of depends on like which stage I'm at in life. So say I'm at a stage where I'm ready to get married and have kids, but his income isn't quite there yet, and our income combined isn't sufficient for us to get married or have kids, then obviously that's going to be a problem.
Of course, I'll prefer the guy to earn more. More money, always good, you know?
I guess.
Yeah, but then, okay, but for me, I'll prioritize the character over his money. I feel, right, that like money isn't the only like marker to kind of define how much a person actually giving into a relationship. If I'm like over 30, I want to settle down, have a family, of course, I feel that he must earn at least a bit more on par. A bit less is fine. Yeah, but as long as I feel that he is very hardworking, he's doing a respectable job. I'm okay with dating like someone who earns less than me, but at the same time, it cannot be like I'm totally funding your entire life, that kind of situation where I'm like your sugar mother,
Sugar mother.
mother. I can treat you here and there, but if you take me for granted and you're just going to use me for my money, right? Then if that's not the arrangement that I initially wanted, then clearly it's a no lah. Okay, so my current boyfriend, right? He is planning to study physiotherapy. To study like medical sciences and all, right? You have to basically study for many years, which means that by the time he graduates, right, he'll be quite old already lah. For me, I feel that he's doing good. He's doing something that will help other people. I really don't mind earning more and kind of like at least sacrificing that kind of lifestyle that I have just so that it'll kind of like make up for the fact that he's not earning as much lah. So in that sense, how do you think the difference in earning can affect your like relationship dynamic?
Okay, so let's say if it's someone that earns more in a relationship, right? Usually you will be the one that pays for things, and I think it will cause tension if because you paid for the thing, right? You feel you have more rights to control how it is. So let's say I pay 80% for the vacation, then I can decide 80% of the itinerary. I mean, you must listen to what I said. You know that kind of expectation that causes a tension.
I think quite a lot. Okay, take for instance, I have a friend who went overseas to work with her boyfriend. Her parents actually bought a house over there for them to live in, but he never felt quite at home because he feels like, I didn't pay for this house. All I can do is pay the bills. So it made him feel very uncomfortable.
I know of this girl. She is from quite a well-to-do family. She went to date this guy who is from a really, 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 really rich family. It made her feel very insecure. She always thought that she had to like put up this kind of like persona lah to kind of like please him. So I feel that's why a lot of people you will date somehow within your so-called income range.
I wouldn't mind that. I would just like blend like a chameleon.
I think it will definitely affect the relationship dynamic, but the way it will affect the most if it's someone holding it over your head. For example, like using this to be like, that time I like paid for something for you or something like that, and like using it to blackmail you. Very manipulative. So as long as it doesn't reach to the point of like manipulation and using it to like blackmail each other, then I think it's okay lah. Because if you all come to terms and are on the same page with like how much you guys earn and are okay with it, then I think that's fine lah. Just be open about it lor. So for women in their 20s who start working earlier than men, right? Do you think that money is a significant factor when it comes to looking for a partner?
I think you don't choose a partner based on money on first impression. You don't be like, he's very rich, unless you're a gold digger lah.
But
but it's
True.
also an important factor in considering someone, because it's like money is a tool lah, and you need to have that same tool to have similar lifestyle so that there won't be that kind of like disparity and tension lah.
I think this goes back to what Chef said about like what kind of lifestyle you want. So say if you always want to go to restaurants and stuff, then obviously a rich guy is right up your alley.
Yeah.
But if you're just a simple girl, then that's not going to be a big problem for you.
Yeah.
I would prefer someone who has a bit more spending power, just so I feel like I can rely on him to sort of provide for us in future.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not very practical to expect a guy to be all established when he's in his 20s because guys go to NS. Girls generally start work earlier.
Yeah.
So I think main thing is about his dreams, his goals, his aspirations. To me, that's more important than actual money.
Yeah.
With different income levels, right? I think one of the problems is also like your spending habits.
Yeah,
There might be
correct.
like conflict.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's say the
yeah.
person who earns more would be sort of so used to spending more, and the person who is earning less would be more thrifty,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So they wouldn't agree with your spending ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually I have friends that are the opposite. The rich ones, right, are super kiamat.
Yes, so many.
That's how they got rich in the first place.
Yeah.
And then the ones that don't have money, right, just like, ayah, buy this.
How much do you think like the traditional view of men providing for the family has evolved in Singapore?
I think definitely people nowadays are more open. So if let's say the guy earns less than the woman, they won't be super alright and say like, oh, you useless. Well, but that being said, right, I think there is still a lot of guys that will be like, you know, very very nasty to their fellow. Yeah, it's the ego. They'll be like, hey bro, why your wife work outside, you at home doing nothing?
In today's day and age, there are a lot of women out there who are making more than men. But of course, I feel like the whole traditional men earn more in the family, I think it's still very much prevalent because men still work till they're much older than women do. So women tend to like become housewives or do part-time jobs when they are older.
I feel that honestly, right, it hasn't really changed that much. In fact, right, sometimes, okay, what I don't support, right, is like feminazis. They say that you want equality, but you want a guy to do all the physical stuff. You want a guy to earn more money, but you don't want to serve NS. You don't want to cook. You don't want to sew. Because all these are like traditional, you know, like typical.
And then you want him to
feminine
pay
roles.
for the meal.
Yeah. So I feel that sometimes we also cannot demand so much lah. It's more about like what we can give instead of what we can get in return lah.
I'm okay with men being the breadwinner, etc. Like, you know, they shouldn't be so like take it so hard on themselves. Like if like, you know, their partner earns more than them. You
To
know?
be fair, right, if I had to be like the breadwinner of the family, I would feel very, very stressed out.
Fair
I would
enough.
feel so stressed out. So like, kudos to people who are doing that.
Yeah.
Great responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we actually talked about whether it's okay to earn more than your partner, and we sort of came to an agreement that it's really about what kind of lifestyle you and your partner really want, and how money plays a factor in that.
So if you guys have any opinions on this issue, feel free to leave it in the comments and also let us know what else to talk about next time.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Bye!